Hello. Today I want to start a new series of lore videos focused on the stories present in the world of Magic the Gathering. For those of you who are not familiar, Magic is a trading card game, and something that I have spent a lot of my time enjoying since my early days in high school. This game has many different storylines which all take place in the same universe, or multiverse as they refer to it. The first lore topic on this new series I want to discuss is Jace Beleren. Jace is a human Plainswalker who is incredibly intelligent and adept with blue magic, capable of such talents as clairvoyance and illusion. His specialty, though, is in the art of inborn telepathy, which makes him unique within the multiverse. He has reserved nature and a troubled conscience for the poor decisions he has made in the past. Jace's unique gift of telepathy manifested very early in his life, often to his parents' embarrassment. Desperate to curb the young man's curious nature, his father sought out the assistance of a local mage, known as AlHemorrhoid. AlHemorrhoid took Jace from his father and allowed him to apprentice underneath him. Under his tutelage, Jace spent years learning new spells and talents, but most importantly, he began to feel welcomed for the first time in history. It was not to last, though. Jace eventually became strong enough to try his talents against his master, and learned the shocking truth of his own existence. He discovered that his spark had ignited over a year ago, dipping him into the blind eternities only for a moment. AlHemorrhoid had lied to him about what had happened, telling him that his illusions had backfired and not to concern himself with it. AlHemorrhoid confided in Jace's father about the event, and they agreed to keep the truth from Jace. Jace thought over this news for days, holding his temper close to his heart until finally, during one of their practice sessions, Jace snapped. Jace slipped into his mind and unleashed all of his rage and pain at once, completely destroying AlHemorrhoid's mind. Jace fled and wandered nowhere within 100 miles of his hometown. Finally, Jace erased his own memories, so that he would never have to see his teacher's face again and feel the weight of what he had done. He decided to leave his original home of Silmot's Crossing and never return. Jace found his way to the plane of Radnik after some time. Here he settled into a comfortable life, living in the upper echelons of society and earning his money through blackmail. He would use his telepathy to learn the secrets of the wealthy and extort them for his continued silence. While conducting business, Jace was attacked by creatures summoned by members of the Infinite Consortium. After some brief background research, Jace confronted the Consortium's master, Tezzeret, and learned that these attacks were in fact an invitation for Jace to join the Tezzeret's organization, the Infinite Consortium. The Infinite Consortium is a mercantile guild who travel the multiverse searching for rare items to sell to their clients. With some hesitation, Jace agreed and began training with Tezzeret to hone his telepathy for the Consortium's use. Jace was partnered with a blade master by the name of Kallist, who by some coincidence looked remarkably like Jace, and together they began to train each other in their own specialties between assignments. After a few years, Jace came to realize how badly the Consortium's practices had impacted him, and he began to feel the guilt. Things started to come to a head when a mission to Kamigawa ended with the massacre of a Nazium's village. In punishment, Tezzeret savagely beat Jace for failing, though the mission failed through no fault of Jace's. Shortly thereafter, an agent of Nicol Bolas, the original master of the Infinite Consortium and Tezzeret's main rival, contacted Tezzeret over a mining dispute on an unknown plane. Tezzeret scheduled a meeting with the dragon on an Arctic plane and brought Jace along to ensure that Bolas did not attempt to probe Tezzeret's mind. Jace became distracted by the dragon, who held 2 conversations with them both. Jace's defenses, which were not tested to begin with, failed when Bolas struck. After fleeing for their lives from Bolas's forces, Jace succumbed to frostbite and lost a toe. This was the least of his injuries, though, as Tezzeret used his mana blade to torture Jace for having failed, despite his inexperience and the vast differences in power that Bolas possessed. Finally, Jace grew uneasy with Tezzeret's methods and total lust for power, and after refusing a task which went against his very nature, he ultimately fell out of Tezzeret's graces. Jace took Kallist with him and ran to the farthest reaches of Radnik in hopes of escaping the Consortium's wrath. While trying to lay low, the pair ran into the lovely necromancer Liliana Vess, who flirted endlessly with both of them, finally settling into a torrid affair with Jace. Without Jace's knowledge and with a heavy heart, Liliana revealed where Jace and Kallist had settled to the Consortium. In a desperate attempt to save both of their lives, Jace tried to absorb Kalas's mind and switched bodies with the assassin. 6 months later, Jace, in Kalas's body, died, and his mind returned to its original body with extreme trauma to Jace's psyche. Liliana took him away to recover and urged him to pursue Tezzeret for his part in Kalas's death. This resulted in Tezzeret and Jace scheming against each other, Tezzeret trying to kill Jace for his insubordination and impotence, and Jace just wanting to finally be free from Tezzeret and the Consortium. Jace turned to Nicol Bolas for help in locating Tezzeret's sanctum, and he and Liliana planned an assault on the Artifactor's base. Ultimately, the attack failed. Jace was captured and Liliana's treachery came to light. Tezzeret spent months constructing an artifact to control Jace's mind without damaging his abilities, all the while having Jace tortured violently by the pyromancer Baltris. Liliana approached the captured Jace and tried to make him understand the reasons she'd done all the things she had. She genuinely cared for him, and she helped Jace escape the prison Tezzeret constructed. Together they again attempted to destroy Tezzeret, wreaking havoc in his base of operations. Ultimately, Jace and the Artificer dueled, resulting in Jace wiping Tezzeret's mind clean, leaving the Consortium without a leader. At some point during Jace's first year working for the Infinite Consortium, he was sent to track down and retrieve a scroll Chandra had stolen from the Sanctum of Stars. Chandra is another Plainswalker with a wild personality and adept in red mana. His mission was to erase all memories of it from the Pyromancer's mind. He tracked her to this monastery of the Carol Keep, where he confronted the girl. After a short battle, Jace completed his objective and Plainswalked away. Roughly 3 years after retrieving the Dragon Scroll from Chandra, Jace's interest in it once again peaked for an unknown reason. With Garruk's assistance, Jace soon decoded the location of the scroll as Zendikar. Shortly thereafter, he followed in Chandra's footsteps, having hired a guide to climb through the mountains of Akum. Using his skill at illusion to keep himself safe, he and his guide soon encountered Anawan, who attacked Jace and killed his guide. Subduing Anawan, Jace ripped the information he sought from the vampire's mind and convinced him to replace his guide to the Eye of Urgin. Upon arriving at the Eye, a wall closed between the two, with Anawan shouting warnings at Jace that fell on deaf ears. What Jace found, much to his surprise, was an immense dragon fighting Chandra. Jace immediately offered his help, but was stunned to find that his spells were malfunctioning, and one of the hadrons floating above the cave were absorbing his magic. Acting upon intuition, and things he had gleaned from the scroll that led him there, Jace told Chandra to try and generate fire that could not be seen. With it, the pair defeated Sharkan, another Plainswalker, knocking the entire group unconscious. Chandra was the first to awake and pulled Jace to his feet before walking away, leaving Jace to ponder who had manipulated the group into crossing paths. As Jace was set to leave this place, an enormous member of the Eldrazi brood attacked, killing Jace's mount but leaving the Mind Mage uninjured. 2 weeks later, Jace stood counseling an archivist at the lighthouse of AlHemorrhoid. He learned a bit about the Eldrazi but felt no wiser for the knowledge. He recounted the events of his journey with Chandra and decided to seek out where she had learned of the scroll. Jace, tired of his years of travel, finally ventured back to the only place he wanted to call home, Ravnica. Jace was distraught over the things he had seen, and Ravnica provided him with the distraction he sorely needed. Suspicious patterns and symbols began to spring up in the 10th district, an area designated to the Golgari, so Jace decided to investigate. These symbols grabbed the interest of the Izzet League, and Jace wanted to know why. He became obsessed with this puzzle that was now occurring all over Ravnica until his dear friend Amara decided to interject. Amara is an elf in high standing with the Selesnya Conclave. She noticed her friend losing his grip and offered him a place in the Conclave if he desired. Jace declined, but Amara also asked for the mage's assistance. He was not the only one to notice the Izzet's flurry of activity, so they decided to investigate together. This partnership did not go unnoticed, however. They started to attract the attention of the House Demir. Jace tracked Ral Zarek, a powerful Plainswalker and high-ranking member of the Izzet, back to the Izzet Guildgate. He was shocked to see Zarek meeting with the ancient dragon and leader of the Izzet, Niz Mizzet. Jace attempted to not waste the opportunity and made a mental connection with the brilliant dragon. He got the answers he sought, but at the cost of attracting the dragon's attention. The answers were not what he was hoping to see, and Jace decided that it was not enough to make a move with. At this time, the cult of Rakdos abducted Amara, causing Jace to go after her. The forces of the Azorius Senate would not make this rescue mission easy on Jace though. Attempting to arrest him for laws he had broken in the past, Jace eluded Lavinia, the head arrester of the Azorius, with the help of Rorick Thar, leader of the Ogre and brute arm of the Gruul clan. Jace found some answers in a Rakdos nightclub and rushed to the Golgari 10th district. There he found Amara, but he was attacked when he was distracted. The assaulter was Marco Vosk, a vampire and high-ranking member of the House Dimir. Vosk injured Amara, but could do nothing against Jace's powerful mind, and he fled. Jace took the injured elf back to the Selesnyan Conclave. The attack caused a huge stir in the Conclave, and talk of hostility among the guilds began. Jace tried to read the mind of a Conclave captain, but found that he could not. This led the mage to believe that this captain was not who he said he was, but this information fell on deaf ears, and Jace was thrown out of the Conclave. Jace, desperate for answers, turned to Lavinia, the law mage of the Azorius who was sent to arrest him. He shared what he knew about the Dimir plot, but Lavinia could not help him. His only lead now was the ogre brute Rorick Thar, who he had asked for help against the Azorius before. Jace tracked the ogre down and attempted to search his mind for answers. This was taken as a sign of disrespect, and thus Thar challenged the mage to a duel. His mental powers did not fare well against the pure strength of the ogre, but managed to outlast his opponent. Defeated, Thar allowed Jace to search his mind. As he found small bits of answers he could use to continue on, a Rakdos mob formed and attempted to capture Jace. The Gruul did not allow this and stood between Jace and the Rakdos riot. Jace did not run, however. He summoned a giant illusion of Rakdos himself, and commanded the group of rioters to return back to their territory. As the Rakdos dispersed, all groups found themselves in front of the Selesnyan Guild Gate, with armed warriors at the entrance. A war between the guilds was about to erupt right there, but the dragon Mizmizit intervened. He made a district-wide announcement of all the plans that were being made, and that the Firemind had located a maze at the center of the city. Jace had recently found information pertaining to this maze, and was kidnapped shortly after the announcement by Lavaz, the guild leader of House Dimir. He was brought back to their guild in order to have his mind opened. They pried the information of the location of the maze from Jace just before he plainswalked away. Jace quickly returned and snuck into a secret conversation between a disguised Lavaz and the leader of the Azorius, Inspiria. Inspiria stated that the maze must be run by the guilds, and that a winner would have the control over all the guilds. If a winner was not declared, a supreme verdict would destroy all those who had been deemed guilty. The maze soon began, and Jace was at Amiria's side, as she was running it for the Selesnyans. They passed through the guild gates of Dimir and the Orzhov, but encountered Tessa Karlov, high leader of the Azorius Syndicate. Jace manipulated the envoy's servants and escaped in the confusion. At the Izzet Guild Gate, Jace faced Ral Zarek. Ral wanted to rule the guilds of Ravnica, but thought it was important to kill Jace before realizing his goal. Ral was waiting for Jace and manipulated Amara to abandon him and keep running the maze while he struck his rival Plainswalker. Jace would have surely have died if not for the quick illusion which distracted the Izzet Guild Mage. Jace made his way to the end of the maze where all the guild champions were fighting one another. At that point, the maze's end declared that the supreme verdict would be available to any champion if they could only activate it. Jace used his magic to stop the guilds from fighting momentarily, but Lavaz showed up and manipulated them all to start fighting again. In order to prevent the champions from activating the supreme verdict, Jace tied all 10 of their minds together. This caused all the champions to see into each other's minds and ceased all conflict. As a result of this act, the maze declared Jace the winner and awarded him the power of the Gil Pact, rather than the supreme verdict. Jace could now see from the perspective of all the guilds, meaning that he was the most qualified to become the Gil Pact. As Gil Pact, Jace mediated the guilds of Ravnica, and with help, was allowed to continue planeswalking while still not losing the city to all-out war. This was challenged, however, by a fellow planeswalker named Varska. She attempted to gain control over Jace's body and thus become the Gil Pact herself. Jace was able to defeat this opponent, but he now continuously fears for the safety of Ravnica. Jace is one of my favorite characters in the entire MTG franchise, and I'm sure his story will continue in the future. All of the Plainswalkers make an appearance in the core set series, and Jace will be no exception in the coming 2015 core set. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I hope you all are interested in a little bit of MTG lore like I am. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.